government in this town is excellent and uses your tax dollars efficiently. Pay attention.
Maybe you thought you'd see it coming. The moment here, they call me what they fear it is. A way to read it.
What an astounding revolution.
All right, guys, I'm here at Coin Agenda in Puerto Rico in the Caribbean with someone else who's at Coin Agenda in Puerto Rico in the Caribbean, and you've done some very interesting work. So this is Jason Siebert. I think I got the name right.
Got it. Yeah.
I heard somebody mispronouncing it earlier.
Happens. Yeah.
You're not a cyborg, though.
No, not
Definitely.
last time I checked. No. But
Definitely
I'm open
not.
to the idea. I'm cyborg curious.
Right.
You know, I'd be all right.
That'll work. So your background is you're a grungy lawyer, or?
Yeah. Well, before law, I was a data engineer.
Okay.
So I did a lot of stuff.
So you are, I mean, has tax problems or
No,
things like that. They don't come to you.
No. People come to me these days when they're about to launch an ICO and they don't know how their project marries up with securities law or banking
Right.
law. Or
so you give SEC advice.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Cool. But the lawyer shit. Let's talk about some more important things. So you and I actually. We didn't even know that we were doing it. We met each other later, but we were doing the same thing in the same, damn near in the same neighborhood.
That's right. Yeah.
And now we're again in the same neighborhood, doing similar things. So we got started from the hurricane season, which is coming up again.
It is.
Our show went down to Houston and all along the Texas coast, and we did what we did. And you were doing a similar thing.
With the Church of Blur, right? So that's the first blockchain-based religion. Actually, we got our designation letter from the IRS, which was fantastic, about 3 weeks before Harvey hit. And then Harvey hit. We had no idea it was going to hit in our backyard, and so it was really great to be able to do, basically a live beta of kind of the stuff that we can deploy and the things that we can do.
Right.
So, the whole idea is systemic peer-to-peer problem solving through charitable giving. Right. Really getting down to the whole concept, right? And you've seen this, right? You got a neighborhood trying to recover, and you got folks that are focusing on straightening up their house.
Right.
And they're all focused on their singular problem. But if they just look to the right and see there's a big tree in the middle of the road, and if they all just worked for one moment to get that tree out of the way,
right,
all of their efforts could be greatly improved.
Yeah.
So instead of giving money to people to fix up their house, we try to find the ways that we can figure out how to help them move the tree so that they can better help themselves. Right. Things like that, systemic problem solving of what's going to make this happen better, faster. So we've got limited resources. We've got to pick and choose how to. We're not the Red Cross, right?
Exactly.
Nobody's given us $400 million to build a house in Haiti.
Right.
So we got to be very strategic with how we deploy.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, we deployed. We actually bought a boat and went down to Houston, and we're pulling. We were pulling people out of the water. I think we had like about 30 people. Not a lot.
Yeah,
but for one, we spent maybe $700-800 on a bass boat.
Yeah.
From Academy, and went down there and pulled people out of the water, and and ended up being great press.
Yep.
And you guys had like kind of a medical unit set up, or what was?
So where you were pulling people out of the water, then what they would end up doing is if they needed medical services, they would come to our mobile medical clinic that we purchased. That used to be a motorcycle racing trailer.
Oh, awesome!
Right, so it's got a generator, it's got a little apartment up front. We can be self-sustaining wherever we go, and the backside of it was already built out pretty well, but we made it, medically safe and compliant. And my wife's an ER doctor, so it made it really simple to say, guys, we have resources, and so through that, we get volunteers to come and help. We partnered up with Texas Search and Rescue, so they'd bring them out of the water, bring them to us. We'd set up in like a grocery store parking lot that had a pharmacy in it, and actually HEB was a good partner for that.
Oh man, HEB was awesome. They were awesome. I couldn't believe what they let us actually come and give away food on their parking lot. While they were handing out food, and normally what you would run into with things like this is like, no, get out of here. We're trying to capitalize on this. But no, HEB they were awesome about that. They turned all of their centers right down, especially like Rockport.
Oh yeah.
Their store was destroyed, but they went ahead and said, all right, this is the center. This is where everybody's going to do things. So we were set up there. It was really inspiring.
Yeah. No,
especially to to be able to be the ones that go in there and actually do something, because you see so much garbage of people taking donations, they're doing this and doing that, but where are they? I see them, you know, like you're listening to a local radio station. We raised $87 million for the disaster. Like, I go down there. Where are you guys? I don't see any of you. Even like I was relaying to you about the NRG Center. This is in Houston. We went there, and they had a big sign that says, "No more donations. We don't need your help." So I'm like, all right. So we went somewhere else. We went to another center instead. But and when we went to the other center, we figured it out. Hey, they're just turning us away for no reason. Yeah. So the next day, we just didn't ask permission. We just went by there and just pretended like we were supposed to be there. You know, you just act like you know what you're doing. Go ahead and do it, and no one asks questions.
Next time, just walk around with the clipboard. Radio, and you'll get in. I mean, the amount of command and control and communication of who's doing what, because it's an all-volunteer deal, is pretty amazing. You can get into different places.
Well, that's
I'm not advocating that.
No, that's how I'm advocating it, because that's how we did it, actually. We snuck into NRG Center by pretending to be volunteers, and then we brought a big cart full of towels and soap and toothpaste and everything, and they were like, all right, come in.
We got Puerto Rico beats going in the background from the street. So on that note, one of the shelters that we were running in League City, we actually found the opposite. We found a guy that dressed up like a Red Cross volunteer, and came in and was taking all the resources. He was food, he was taking shoes, the whole deal. And because we'd done quite a bit and we'd built partnerships with, local law enforcement and everything else, I was able to go up to one of the police and said, look, we're all about providing aid to people. We're all about helping people. This guy probably needs help. I don't know why he feels like he has to impersonate a Red Cross person. But I don't know if it's breaking a law or not or something, but maybe you need to have a talk with this guy and find out what his motivation is. If he needs a pair of shoes, man, all he's got to do is ask. He doesn't need to steal, right? But some people are not wired that way. Some people are wired a little different.
I noticed like a lot of intimidation going on at the NRG where, this family comes up and there's a kid who's probably about 11 or 12 years old, and he's wearing a t-shirt like mine. And as soon as he walks up, he assumes the position and is waiting to be searched. And they unnecessarily search all the way down. You can see his arm is naked. He doesn't have any. Why are you searching all the way to his fingertips? It's just for this. And I was just standing there, and I watched this brainwashed walk up and just assume the position. That's ridiculous.
That's too bad.
Well, let's talk about Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico. We were here after. And actually it was a brief stay because our real mission was to get down to Dominica. And the only way we could get routing at that point, based on the logistics of the different airports and where airlines were flying, was to route through Puerto Rico. And when we came in, the airport didn't have any power. So it was pretty intense. There was a little bit of a layover, so I got in the cab and kind of drove around a little bit. Getting the aerial perspective as you fly in, it paints a picture, but it doesn't tell the story on the ground, and you want to go and see the story on the ground.
Yeah, definitely. I found that, when we started our relief in Mexico, I started out
with the earthquakes, right?
With the earthquakes. I started out in Mexico City, and, I'm just driving around, I'm assessing the damage, and what I'm noticing is it's all apartment buildings. Well, I don't have funding to rebuild an apartment building, so we moved on. We got recommended, the damage is in Puebla, so we go to Puebla. People there, they kind of directed us to some of the outlying cities that were actually right near the volcano, and so now we're working in a little town called Metepec, and it's where we're building houses. But see, you have to go on the ground and actually be there to do your recon and figure out who needs help, who's full of shit, and how you're going to spend your funds the right way without
maximizing the dollar,
without giving them to somebody who doesn't really need. The first time that we showed up in the city Metepec, one of the first people that we were considering building a house for actually tried to steal my money. So I'm like, I'm not building you a house, buddy.
We're done.
Screw you.
Have a nice day.
Your attempt at getting 50,000 pesos didn't help your cause any at all. So, you screwed.
Cool.
But we were able to, build a relationship with the people in that small city just by asking questions and everything, and we got a list. The local government actually gave us a list of who got money and who actually needed help. So we were able to, kind of work on that What did you run into when you got here? As far as, I mean, the resistance from the city, or, I mean, bureaucracy?
We were here for too short of a time.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was able to see, in that same trip, we had just been through Irma, because we took our medical trailer down to Irma, and we went into the Keys and we set up at Fisherman's Hospital. So we were able to see, like, day of disaster and people basically shell-shocked.
Yeah.
And people won't talk about this, but while we were down there, they were still pulling bodies out of trees. Okay?
Oh, wow.
Just intense.
Yeah.
Here, it had been a couple of weeks by the time we got on the ground here. And a lot of what people were talking about is that they were just waiting for people to help them.
Yeah.
Waiting for people to help. Why aren't people helping us? And with the limited resources we have, it's a hard task to change the psychology in a disaster. You're either somebody that wants to help yourself and you're going to get after it right away, or you're waiting to be rescued. Yeah. And what I saw the majority of was I was going to have to fight the psychology of waiting to be rescued.
Yeah.
And that was happening here in Puerto Rico. St. Kitts Nevis, they really didn't get hit hard. Business as usual. Tourism was good. They actually supplied resources for other islands, so people that had to evacuate, they were there. A lot of the hotels were full up with like entire communities in them, which was awesome to see, people helping people. Got down to Dominica, and the entire island was devastated. When we were there, only 1% of the island had power, and it's pretty close to that even today.
Wow.
I kid you not, I drove from Canefield Airport to the little village of Maho, and power lines had to be lifted up for us to clear the cars, And I looked to my right was the foundation of a house that was empty, and I looked to my left, and the entire house on the other side of the road. Just, and that was like that for the whole island. Yeah. We did what we could there. We gave some suggestions to local leadership on what they could do. For example, they needed building supplies, right? A bunch of downed trees. We said, well, where's your mobile sawmill? Your building supplies here by just recycling your downed trees. You need a mobile sawmill. Right. And so we look for that kind of systemic deal. So if we can spend $20,000 on a mobile sawmill and send it to the island, now we've solved a bunch of problems, cleanup and rebuilding. Right? And so that's efficiency. That's the type of stuff we try to do. On my way back to the States, I routed through St. Martin. And you probably know this, but St. Martin is split into the Dutch side and the French side. There's two different countries. Right? And the same storm hit this island, the exact same storm. And on the Dutch side, they had cement construction, rebar, power lines were underground, the whole deal. Literally, you cross from the Dutch side to the French side and look up, and there's an above-ground power pole. I mean, that's just the different philosophies of how the Dutch approach storms and the French approach storms. The Dutch were like, never again. This isn't going to happen again. And the French are, we will rebuild. You're like, okay. Right? So the French side was just devastated. In the meantime, the Dutch are selling dollar beers at the bar. On the same island, right? I mean, it was really intense to see. Now, their airport got hit with like 200-mile-an-hour winds. Some of the highest, actually, I think the highest recorded winds to make landfall happened in St. Martin. It was intense. So their whole airport was shut down. But unlike someone saying, I'm waiting to get help, the Dutch said, well, let's look around and see what we've got to keep things going. They set up tents as a passenger receiving area so you didn't have to stand in the sun. They brought in a little RV to set up as your customs and border patrol, like check out, So it had a little generator and air conditioning for the person that had to sit in there all day. And they converted the baggage claim area, which is normally the side we don't see, right? All the trucks drive up and pitch that off. They converted that into a passenger terminal, seating and everything else. This was 30 days after the storm. They had an operational airport, so much so that they even set up a damn bar. So you could get $1 beer while you were waiting for it. They had duty-free shops. You could buy chocolate. You could buy booze. You could buy smokes. I bought a carton of Cohiba cigarettes for $20 because they looked around and went, well, sure, it's not ideal, but we can make it happen. We can make it work. So it was a really interesting study to see, disaster psychology side by side on the same island. Where the Dutch
Right.
We're moving forward. We're going to use what we have, business as usual.
And the bureaucracy was a lot less.
Oh yeah, what red tape? Let's make it happen. Who's got a tent? Great, let's put it up. Who's got an RV? Great, that's customs. You know, who's got a saw? We can build a bar.
Right.
Right. I mean, it was proactive movement. I don't see that in other jurisdictions.
Yeah.
I see it in Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
God, man. When that happened, you were waiting in line behind like thousands of rednecks with bass boats.
Oh yeah.
Coming in to save areas that were largely black. And so, where's your racism there? I mean,
you know,
it was kind of out the window. That was what I loved about it.
People helping people.
Yeah.
It was very impressive. It was hard to see that. I mean, there were pockets of that help. Like Adela, who, you know Adela, her mom's in Dominica. And of all the houses surrounding her, hers was the only to not lose a roof.
Oh, wow.
So what she did, she took in all those people that were aged, affirmed, that needed care, and she just started making meals for them.
Awesome.
There's still a couple of people still living in her house today because their homes still haven't been rebuilt. They still don't have power.
Wow.
She doesn't have power. Adela's mom doesn't have power in her home. But she still opened up her home to take care of these people.
Yeah.
So you've got that spirit in a few folks.
Yeah.
Right? But not as a widespread community in a lot of places that I visit. And unfortunately, I saw the same thing here in Puerto Rico.
But yeah, I want to ask you about that. I mean, the main reason that I'm actually even here, the only reason I didn't come here to talk to ICOs. I couldn't give a rat's ass about ICOs personally. I came here to find out who's doing what and if anybody is actually doing something to help, because I've heard a lot of people saying that they're going to put money into doing it. Is anybody doing that? Is that a real thing here?
I don't know. I haven't audited it.
You haven't audited it. You haven't seen it. I mean, that's what I want to know. I want to meet whoever's doing that, and that's why I'm here.
There's a lot of rumors, right?
Yeah.
Here, largely in San Juan, it's business as usual, right? And I was able to drive an hour east to Fajardo, to the marina,
right?
And forth, no problems. When you look on the left side of the road, right side of the road, there's homes still with blue tarps. There's still communities without power. But
I haven't been able to see that yet. I won't be here long. Unfortunately, I won't be here long enough to really
rented a Jeep. I had to go. I had to see. Right
Yeah.
here, we're gonna go do it. So the areas that have means, that have businesses that make money, they seem to be the ones that are getting the resources back up and running, and unfortunately some of the lesser communities are not being focused on the resources. That's what I've seen. That kind of confirms some of the rumors that I've heard, but I haven't been all over the island. I can't say with any kind of statistical certainty whether or not it's, I mean, still
for us, we have an ulterior motive as well. I mean, it's not just go out and build a house for somebody. We also want to, get into these communities and create an image of what the currency is and what it can. And, the big thing that we're focusing on is the U.S., Mexico, and this is kind of a way that we feel that we can build this. And why isn't somebody using that here? We have to display that currency is something that you can use. It's an actual that you can build stuff with.
Want to do touristic government integration things of disbursement of funds to the people, right? So you have a government that says, all right, we owe this particular checks that they give to allow. What if that was a check, right? And it was distributed based on actual flow,
right?
Instead of once a year. We had an actual meter hooked up to it, and you got daily tokens instead of one check at the end of the year, right?
Right.
So think about how that changed the economy. Online, you get dropped FEMA tokens, instantly usable. Right. That obviously is when you're in an area, you use an electronic device or a QR code in order to do that. So the use of crypto in disaster zones gets a little tricky. You have to plan for it. You have to have infrastructure, power, communications, etc. But, there's ways to do it creative. But at the same time, what you don't want to do is slow up the process any more than it is.
Yeah, definitely.
We went into Port Aransas.
Yeah. a week, almost 2 weeks after.
We were there 4 days after the eye left.
Yeah.
There were a group of us from the Kima League City area. We pulled some resources, bought a bunch of supplies. It was supposed to be a recon trip to figure out, okay, there's people asking for these things, but do they really need them? Kind of a deal. And so we loaded up a couple of big Chevy diesels and nobody thought twice about telling us to go away. We went right to the distribution center at the marina. Did you
no,
you didn't not in.
After the fact, we went ahead and focused on the areas that we could get into. So we tried, Port Aransas was actually the very first point that we tried to get into. We weren't able to get in, so we drove back around to the other side, and we got Port Aransas Pass. Rockport, and then worked our way up. We worked 12 cities and passed out stuff to 3,100 people.
That's great.
And
that's great.
Directly, you know, me and my wife handed the stuff into their hands, so we know where it went because we did it. We assembled it, you know, and we had so much help from people that came in from outside and even some people on the inside, but I was really disappointed in some of the so-called anarchist groups in Houston that I actually reached out to, who were literally publishing videos saying, we need to help our neighbors, and then I contact them and say, hey, I'm here, I got 60 grand to help, let's do it. Crickets. Crickets.
That's too bad.
But there were plenty of other people, so there was no shortage of helping people, you know. But it just showed me who is real and who isn't.
One area they got it right. You know, from Corpus Christi to Port Aransas? Road about 13, 14 miles long.
But the power lines were down.
So you've only got one option. You drive in or you take the ferry into Port Aransas, right?
Yeah.
So as we went through, there were probably about 100 power trucks.
Oh, yeah.
Lifting the lines.
Right.
And so they, in order to do it, to get to it, they'd actually have to into this drainage ditch. They couldn't get out. Support structures down, throw the cherry bucket up with a guy and lifting power line up. They've got 100 of these trucks, right? And they're just doing it. And the guy that lifts up down, he's got another truck to tow his ass out of the ditch. And then he goes for the just ran this 24/7 until they restored power all the way down.
I did the same thing. Before that, I actually have film and video of that with the lines down. Lines were still down. We were driving along right behind the cop car, and a deer just popped up out of the ditch and ran right in front of his wheel.
We went down there a couple of times. Actually, we made it as far as Matagorda the night that the storm hit. And I think we talked about this in Austin. Weight calculations and everything else, and the generator, the chainsaw, and we drove through the storm wall between Houston and we drove through that. In from Oregon, but no, it's nothing like this. This storm from the sheriff's office because the clock was ticking because that storm wall was supposed to hit our house at about midnight. And so the whole goal was to get as close and as far in as we can to where the land turn around and get back is where the storm hit the house. That was what we did the first night. And we got all the way to Matagorda Sheriff's Office, and we showed up, and we're like, where did you guys come from? Who are you, and why are you here? You know? And we got water and fuel and a chainsaw and a generator, and you know, they're like, wow, you know, thanks. We came from Houston. We can't believe that. I'm like, well, you know, you're going to need it. So we offloaded it, and I'd forgotten that I had 2 gallons of coffee that I picked up at Buc-ee's. Emergency Operations Center. So I got out and went back inside, and I said, oh, by the way, guys, you want coffee? Nah, whatever. Fuel, fine. A generator, I don't even know what we're going to use that. Chainsaw, the coffee came in, and
it was like the most amazing thing they'd seen on the planet. I thought bringing a generator would have been cool, you know? No, they didn't get the generator. They wanted the coffee.
Yeah. Towels.
Yeah.
I bought out from Austin all the way down. I bought every one of them. So, like, if you were there that day and you went looking for the small soaps or toothpaste or toothbrush, any of that, there wasn't there. It's my fault. So
Yeah,
I bought them. We were like,
very Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
yeah, yeah. Towels, man. That was the number one thing that we passed out was towels, and people were loving it.
Build houses here.
I want to see. Yeah, I'll be here tomorrow. I just want to see if there's somebody here that's actually doing something.
I got a Jeep.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, you and I were going to go drive the island. And
Okay.
We're going to do some recon.
Okay.
And we'll see it firsthand.
All right.
Deal? Deal.
Sounds good.
We'll
Yeah.
make it happen.
All right.
Cool.
Well, let's call this
Thanks, Dan.
an interview, and man, it's good to see somebody that.
Yeah, man.
Well done. Fuck all these ICOs.